Hello and welcome to Scientific Supplement Reviews. In today's video, I will review the lion's mane mushroom, a supplement that has recently gained popularity. Historically, lion's mane goes back a long time and has been used in East Asian cuisine and traditional medicine for centuries. In traditional Chinese medicine, it has been associated with supporting the digestive system and sleep function. And in Japanese culture, it was historically consumed by mountain monks, which explains, in part, its modern-day reputation as a booster of focus and mental clarity. Modern interest in lion's mane as a supplement is mostly centered on its reputed effect on cognitive function, brain health, as a mood booster, and its potential digestive and immune effects. But does it actually work? Let's see what the science says. Let's start with some background and take a quick look at lion's mane and the chemicals it contains. The mushroom's scientific name is Hericium erinaceus, and it grows primarily on damaged or dead trees. There are two chemicals found in lion's mane whose properties have been associated with benefits to human health, and those are erinacine and hericinone. Hericinone is found in the fruiting body of the mushroom, which is the visible part that usually grows above ground level, while erinacine is produced in the root-like structures of the mushroom, the so-called mycelium. Now, let's take a look at the biochemical function of those two chemicals with a focus on the brain. Both of lion's mane's active ingredients activate certain neurons in the brain to produce and secrete a peptide hormone called NGF. This NGF hormone travels to other neurons, where it binds and activates a specific signaling receptor. Activation of this receptor leads to a host of beneficial processes, such as neuronal growth, increased synaptic plasticity, and reduced neural inflammation. By the way, just for your interest, this is what AI came up with when I asked it to create an animation of this process. Whoa, talking about mushrooms. Now, getting back to the proposed benefits of lion's mane. As outlined, the active ingredients erinacine and hericinone could play a role in improved brain health through the actions of NGF. However, the question is whether enough of these chemicals make it to the brain to have a meaningful effect, and whether any such effect has a noticeable impact on a person's health. In order to answer those questions, we need to investigate the clinical and preclinical evidence. So, let's look at some mouse studies first. This study from 2019 investigated the effects of lion's mane on cognitive function in aging mice. First, they simply submitted a set of lab mice to a number of cognitive tests throughout their lifespan, which in lab mice is about 24 months. They then scored their performance on those cognitive tests. That performance was converted to a so-called frailty index, and, as expected, frailty and age correlate positively. As the mice grow older, their performance deteriorates, and thus they score higher on the frailty index. Having defined a measure of frailty, the scientists then proceeded to investigating the effect of lion's mane supplementation on older mice's cognitive abilities. For this experiment, they performed the cognitive tests on 21-month-old mice, followed by 2 months of adding lion's mane to the animal's diet. At 23 months of age, they then repeated the cognitive tests and found that the mice scored lower on the frailty index than they did 2 months prior, meaning their cognitive abilities had improved. Their locomotor abilities, incidentally, had not. Another aspect of lion's mane supplementation that has been investigated in lab animals is its potential effect on mood-related disorders such as anxiety and depression. In this study from 2018, the authors used the commonly used tail suspension test to assess the effectiveness of lion's mane in acting as a potential antidepressant. In the tail suspension test, the mouse will spend some time being agitated trying to escape its predicament, and some time hanging completely immobile. The period of immobility is a measure of despair, a proxy for depression, and total time of immobility is measured. A successful intervention would thus reduce the time of immobility. The authors of the study found that, as expected, a mouse that was submitted to the tail suspension test spent a lot more time being immobile than a control mouse that was not suspended. What they found in mice whose diet had been supplemented with lion's mane was that their time of immobility during the tail suspension test dropped in a dose-dependent manner, with mice receiving the highest dose of lion's mane being the least immobile. These results indicate that lion's mane may indeed have a positive, stress-reducing effect in the test animals. The authors then went on to investigate the biochemical mechanism by which the stress-reducing effect of lion's mane may be mediated. They found that both dopamine and serotonin levels were reduced in animals that had been stressed, compared to mice that had not been stressed. Interestingly, levels of those two neurotransmitters were restored, or at least partially restored, to normal levels in stressed animals that had been given lion's mane. The study's conclusion then is that lion's mane supplementation reduces depressive-like symptoms in stressed mice, and that those effects may be mediated by restoring important neurotransmitter levels in those animals. So, the evidence from mouse studies for the effectiveness of lion's mane in improving cognition and mood is very encouraging. But as we have seen on this channel before, efficacy of a supplement in mice does not automatically translate to good results in human studies. So let's take a look at those next. This study from Japan conducted a randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled trial of lion's mane supplementation and its effect on cognitive function in healthy volunteers above the age of 50 years old. The test group received a daily oral dose of lion's mane extract over a period of 12 weeks, and the control group received a placebo for the same time period. All participants were given a cognitive test before, during, and after the 12-week test period, and their performance was quantified. For one of the cognitive tests performed, the so-called mini mental state examination test, the authors of the study report the following findings. Both the group of volunteers receiving the lion's mane extract, shown here as a continuous line, as well as the group receiving the placebo, the dashed line, see a slight improvement in their test performance over the course of the 12-week test period. After 12 weeks, they find that this improvement in the score is statistically higher in the lion's mane group compared to the placebo group. Now, while that sounds encouraging on the face of it, there are a number of potential flaws. Firstly, the difference is minimal. As you can see, the y-axis does not start at 0 but at 28.5, with the maximum average score going up to 30. This visually exaggerates the difference between the control and test group. A further caveat is the fact that the error bars are missing on one of the data points, and the p-value for significance is only a modest 0.029. On top of that, a second cognitive test performed on these test subjects showed no difference between individuals receiving a placebo and those receiving the lion's mane extract. All in all, this means that while a very modest effect on cognitive improvement may be achievable through 12 weeks of lion's mane supplementation, the evidence is weak as it stands, and significantly larger and more extensive trials are needed. In addition to looking at the potential cognitive effects of lion's mane supplementation, there are some preliminary clinical studies that have investigated the potential of lion's mane in improving mood-related disorders. This study from Italy investigated the effect of the mushroom on anxiety and depression in a cohort of overweight and obese individuals. In this placebo-controlled trial, both groups were put on a low-calorie diet, and the test group received a daily oral dose of lion's mane extract over a period of 2 months, and the control group received a placebo for the same time period. After those 2 months, the study participants continued on a low-calorie diet for another 2 months, but stopped taking the lion's mane or placebo. Symptoms of anxiety and depression were measured in all participants before the study began, at T0, after 2 months of taking the supplement or placebo, T1, and again after the additional 2 months of no longer taking the supplement, T2. The authors of the study find that in the group that received lion's mane supplementation for 2 months, both symptoms of depression and anxiety were slightly but significantly reduced after the 2 months of supplementing. Interestingly, that effect persisted for at least another 2 months after supplementation had stopped. In the control group, where individuals had been given a placebo, this effect was not observed. Now then, this completes my assessment of the evidence for lion's mane's effectiveness as a mood and brain boosting supplement. I conclude that while there is some encouraging evidence from human trials already, the effect observed is moderate at best. Now, that could still mean that at least some people may experience a modest but real benefit from regularly taking lion's mane, and on that basis, I award lion's mane an amber light on our traffic light classification system of supplement effectiveness. Give it a try. Why not? Am I supposed to cook this? So, there you have it. I hope you have enjoyed this scientific supplement review of lion's mane, and I hope it will help you make an informed choice when deciding as to whether you want to purchase and use lion's mane supplements in the future. Note that you can now follow scientific supplement reviews on Blue Sky, where you will receive exclusive announcements of future supplement review videos. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments of any other supplements you would like me to review.